三重の箱庭。I love OBS so much. I love OBS just changing my fucking mic condenser to something completely not it. Alright. No, your shit's not broken, and I technically wasn't muted. OBS is just a jackass. Anyway, I'll do that over again. Since literally no one heard me. Anyway. Welcome back. Today we're starting Nia no Hakoniwa, and there is a content warning on screen for it. So I'm gonna go... Unfortunately, this is the Steam version of the game. Normally I would buy this from JAST, but I did not. I think I bought it on sale a long time ago, so it just is what it is. Anyway, I'm gonna read the content warning here. Let's see. Genres are drama, horror, content, gore, NSFW, visual novel, mosaics. So it should be censored. You know? It should be. It says it has mosaics. I don't think the gore is censored, but I think the like sexual content is censored. I was almost late to stream because I was creating a custom widget, trying to get the fucking JAST widget on my screen and to be like clickable. I don't think it is. I just think it says JAST right there, and that's all. Shit. Now, if you want visual novels that are uncut and DRM free, do go to JAST and buy them. My links are below. Since I can say that now, I'm officially an affiliate and my links work. Oh, I guess I should say Oshi Bubbles exists still. I still want some VTuber bathwater in my life. So if you guys want to like support me, just clicking the link helps a lot because it lets them know I'm actually pushing. So eventually I'll have my own VTuber bathwater. I mean bath bomb. That's what I This game isn't well reviewed, but I swear to God I don't care about reviews from people who don't appreciate art. I could read the story that's on the JAST like splash page if you want, or we could go in completely blind. It really just depends on what y'all want. I don't know how my voice sounds. My throat was wrecked earlier also, so it might still sound like complete ass. I'm not sure. Oh. I will say the music in here is very nice. I'm gonna, well, let's see. I am gonna read the synopsis here. It shouldn't give too many spoilers. Obviously, we have to like watch this unfold, but story of this game. A long time ago, an outlander appeared before the village of a long-suffering minority. In his possession was a mysterious box, in quotation marks, which was used by the oppressed to rise up and overthrow their oppressors. Years later, that oppressed group formed 7 noble houses and grew prosperous. However, House Shiki, which stood first among the 7 noble houses, did not have a son to succeed the family. In order to have an heir, a young man from outside the village was adopted into the family. Kuro, assuming that's how that's pronounced, born and raised as a product and ignorant of the subtleties of being a person, is introduced to Shiki Kyoko, eldest daughter of House Shiki. The interactions begin to, oh, there's a typo here. Begin to build emotions within him, and on the day of their marriage, a nightmare is born. Okay, so something terrible happens, I suppose. So, I mean, this is the most intrusive way. It's fine. The like smoke and shit from Canada made its way down here, so the air quality yesterday was just terrible. So yeah, I feel like my voice sounds like garbage, and it might. So kind of feels like pretty terrible, to be honest. Yeah, I can imagine. Wildfires are no fucking joke, bro. Oh, that's good. I actually didn't get a air quality like notification today, so maybe it's decent. I don't actually know. See what airnow.gov's got to say about this. It says very unhealthy, but it's at 201, so it's not like the worst. Because it's like right on the cusp of not being the worst. So 350 is still 350 is pretty high, actually. Holy shit. I'm also tired as fuck today. I spent a lot of time. Yeah, I know. I feel that so bad. Well, not anymore, but I used to. I understand. Anyway. I was gonna let you know something specifically since you're here. Oh. There's a Porygon 2 in chat? That's actually fucking wild. I was gonna say, in the same vein as like me getting my JAST affiliate shit fixed and it's like available to me and I can use my links and shit. I applied for gamer subs. I don't know if that one's gonna go anywhere. I am still quite small, so I said I'd wait until I hit like 500 followers to apply to that, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just go ahead and send it. The worst they can say is no. So since I was asked to get a fucking shaker cup, I guess the first step in that is to apply to be affiliated with gamer subs. So Also, if that JAST widget is clickable, which I don't think it is, do let me know, because I am curious if it worked or not. It's just on screen, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, looks like it. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if it's like the live screen or not, but if you're on mobile, it probably won't work at all. Nice, we actually caught that fucking thing. It's crazy. What else? What else? What else? What else? I swear I had things to tell you, and now they're just all leaving my brain. Does it? Does it take you to the website? Because it should take you to the JAST store page for this game we're about to play, obviously. Since my link down below is for the School Days Remaster, which is on pre-order. Oh wow! I actually managed to code something? That's insane! Not that it's like complicated, I guess. It's just here's a picture that has a link embedded into it. Voila, it worked. Okay, I'm glad to know that that works. Alright, cool. Okay, so I guess if you click the JAST widget on screen, it'll take you to the store page for Nia no Hakoniwa on JAST. So alright. I can't think of anything else I had to tell you guys today, so I am just gonna start this game. You like my background, by the way? I swapped it. I think it's pretty nice. Can you hear this music, by the way? It's not. This isn't muted. Turn it down a little bit, I think. And I think I fixed like the HUD effects and the not this doesn't need to be here. Why the fuck is this here? Yeah, okay. What was I about to say? Oh, I'm pretty sure I fixed the HUD effects stuff. I had turned off a thing that makes it not play. So, it now should play like normal, like it used to. So, alright. With that said, we're gonna... Alright. And remove myself down here. I don't know how much, like, I'm gonna have to read this. I also don't know where I need to be on screen. So that content warning is not gonna stay right there, I don't think. It's not visible. Just right there. In the middle of the screen. I'm just gonna put it in the upper left-hand corner and hope that that's good enough. If anyone comes in here and is like, what the fuck is this? Yes, I did add that to this model. You're welcome. Actually, at some point, I have to make a list still, but for the new model, I made a bunch of other ones like that are not just the booba. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to make a list of things for sure, because the list for me is getting really long. I'm not gonna be able to like remember them all to tell you guys. I'm just gonna make a list and put it on the fucking Discord. Okay, hold on now. There's no way I would name it that anyway. That's fucking gross. If anything, you'd get like thigh gap or something instead, because that just sounds ew. Just gross. That just sounds nasty. The fuck's wrong with you? Oh. I'm pretty sure I told you this, Saya, but just for everybody else who might be here, I don't fucking know. We have our custom badges for the community event, and the date is set for the 24th of August, so we have that, so Hooray. And yes, I did get custom Pokeball badges made for this because I don't feel like that's all that extra, but God, it felt extra putting in the commission for them. Alright. I could talk forever, probably. The story is a work of fiction. As we proceeded with the production plan, which included thorough research and inspection, various accidents made it difficult to faithfully reproduce the events. We kindly ask for your understanding. Alright. There are no purple balls. It's black and blue. Anyway. Round and round went the blades of the fan. Oh. Leaning back in his chair, the man let out a sigh as he stared at the ceiling. He was alone at the table for two and almost finished with his coffee. Ghosted, huh? That's so sad. That's gonna have to stop. It was a suspicion that didn't particularly bother him. For his line of work, he was very average, but of course, when there was a lot of outliers, being average isn't the same thing as being normal. He was a paranormal investigator, and his field was full of outliers. Oh my god. Surely I can read today. Oh my god. But don't misunderstand. He didn't become one because he was interested in the occult. It was just the first job he could land out of college. The art in this is fucking beautiful. Holy hell. Some publishing company hired him, and Human Resources decided that writing and editing for a spooky tabloid was where he belonged. He wasn't exactly thrilled, but hey, a job's a job. She seemed like a good lead too. I guess I'll have to find someone else. Couldn't help but be annoyed about having wasted his time. He cleared his throat and noted the lingering taste of coffee in his mouth. Ew, don't say that. I don't need that. I don't need that! Oh, fuck. Okay, you just reminded me, Sai, I gotta turn off the thing where the words slide across the screen. I'm sorry. For this is a visual novel, and your words can't be flaming the guy. I mean, you can, but like not on screen. Alright. It matched his mood, faintly bitter. This definitely wasn't his dream job. He couldn't understand what got people so excited about obviously doctored photos, made-up stories, and untreated mental illness. When he first started, it didn't interest him at all. Over the years, though... What the fuck? I just turned that off. Why is it still there? I literally just turned this off. What the actual fuck? Oh no, I turned off something else. What did I turn off? Wait, did I turn off like the emote dropper and stuff? Okay. I might have accidentally turned off the wrong thing and not the chat scroll. Whoops. It's funny because I can see it in VTS, right? Oh, I turned off the hotkey triggers. Okay, I'm not going to turn off your hotkey triggers or the emote dropper, but I am turning off the scroll of the chat. Hello, viewer, to enjoy this visual novel. Listen, you can't be saying shit about the guy needing some deodorant and shit. What do you mean stop? Wait, stop using deodorant? I didn't read that. I don't know how much enjoyment is going to be had out of this VN after reading that story synopsis, though. It might be a little rough. Oh. Alright. Anyway. Over the years, though, he found ways to enjoy his work. The occult is boring. The crazy people who get drawn into it, though, they're interesting. He knew it wasn't nice of him to think that way, but he couldn't help himself. It was either that or lose the only motivation he had.
申し訳ありません。遅くなりました。
Oh my god, voiceover. Oh god, it's Gross. Saya, please. You think this nerdy-looking motherfucker has manly pheromones to give off? You know, he might, actually. Oh no, we're so startled that she's here. He jumped in his seat and scrambled to sit up straight before checking to see who was sitting across from him. When did she get here? It was his source. She bowed apologetically, appearing not to notice the reporter's confusion.
すいません。母の買い物に付き合っていたら時間が過ぎてしまっていて。あ、すいません。
Should I read this out loud after she spoke in Japanese? I don't know. She was busy. She lost track of time. I'm not reading this. She glanced at his coffee and called a waiter over while scanning the simple menu beside the table.
ミルクティーと、それからこちらの方に同じものをお願いします。
あ、いえ、私が取材させていただく立場ですから、ここは。
Why is he offering to pay the bill suddenly?
そんなことおっしゃらずに、遅れたお詫びだと思ってください。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
どういたしまして。では以上で。
I was about to say, I want to see this person he's talking to. The waiter nodded and went off to get their drinks. The reporter tried to look politely sheepish, but truth be told, he was relieved. His employer wasn't exactly Fortune 500 material, and his reporting wasn't anything special. They didn't pay him enough to throw his money around buying drinks for sources. This way he wouldn't have to charge it as a business expense and put up with the nagging from accounting that would ensue. Money never did grow on trees.
それでどうしましょうか。お疲れのようでしたら少し時間を置いてからでも構いません
She
が。
clearly has personality. She's offering to pay for a man's drink. Is that joke too dark for me to make? No, she's just like a normal ass person.
お気遣いいただきありがとうございます。でも大丈夫です。それで今日は。
She frowned a little as though hesitant to talk, but the reporter gave her a look that said he was ready to get down to business.
小鳥箱について。あなたが詳しいと伺いました。
小鳥箱. I'm told you know a thing or two about the Kotori Baka. What the fuck do these words mean? I know you mean chess personality.
私もお話として聞いているのが大部分ですから、どこまで忠実かはわかりませんし。
Can you hear the voiceover well, by the way? Because when I turned the volume down, I left the voices pretty high. Maybe I should turn it up again? I had it here. Did it here? Let's see if that's better. Okay. Is it? Well, if it is, then maybe I should just. There.
それに断片的というか途切れ途切れかもしれませんよ。
I can tell you what I know, but there's a lot of gaps and jumping around. Okay. Mr. Mime. I don't know how much I care about having that, but I'll take it. Oh shit. I'm my own 6-month subscriber this month, which means I've been streaming for 6 months. That doesn't seem right. Oh yeah, I guess I have. Whoa. Okay, cool. Alright, anyway.
構いません。まとめるのが私どもの仕事ですから。あ、録音させていただきますが、よろしかったでしょうか。
The source nodded feebly, giving him a twinge of satisfaction. The curse of the Kotori Bako. Rumors about it were commonplace among online enthusiasts of the weird and frightening, although no one could determine when they had started circulating. The story was the kind where some sort of long-suffering minority would get revenge on their oppressors through supernatural means. In this case, they did it by making the box, a process which supposedly involved a dark ritual where they sacrificed little girls. I wonder what the plot of this fucking visual novel is. The box could cause serious injury or death to anyone who touched it, and no one who laid eyes on it would come away completely unscathed. It was said to be especially deadly for young girls, whose insides would tear out, not be torn out, they would just tear out themselves. The details would vary like they always did, but that was the gist of it. The paranormal tabloid he worked for had decided to run a feature on the box, and the ever-diligent reporter, he was doing the legwork of investigating the rumors. After all, anyone could regurgitate. I was about to say rejuvenate. Regurgitate what they found on the internet. He needed to give people something they hadn't heard before. He'd been asking around out in the sticks, and that was what brought him to set up this interview. I've got to say, this has been a fascinating journey. I should have just about everything I need. All that's missing is that one special something. He'd worked long and hard to find a source this promising. I've talked to a lot of people who said it was in their family shrine or that their parents had it in a storage somewhere. The story always ends with some kind of horrible accident. Now it's time to find out. How would it go this time?
よろしくお願いします。
こちらこそ。では、思い出せる限りで古いものですと。
She'd finished her tea, the ice was melting in the glass. It shifted noisily as she began her story. Okay, I think this is just the framing device. There was an island not at all far from mainland Japan. On a clear day, you could see the mainland from the shore, but it wasn't terribly close either. A little fog, and there would be nothing but ocean as far as the eye could see. It wasn't a large island, certainly not the size of a country, but it was home to several villages. There were humble places where the people made their living by cultivating the land or helping themselves to the ocean's bounty. Their lives could have been so simple, but alas, they wouldn't be able to remain isolated on their island forever. Yeah, it's always those fucking outsiders. Sorry, it's always shit like that in stories, right? It's like everything was great, and then the outsiders came. There was a river that ran through each village. That's where the story began. On one of the river's banks, a crowd had gathered. You could tell they were poor by the way they dressed, although there were a few who looked somewhat more well-to-do, merchants perhaps. The mass of people were circled around something, all facing toward a single spot. It wasn't an everyday kind of gathering. Where they were looking, the riverbank's gravel turf had been stained a dark red, the color of dried blood. A dirty, emaciated man sitting with his arms tied behind his back was the object of their gaze. He was silent, staring down at the blood-stained ground. Droplets of cold sweat ran down his face, a few at a time. Oh my god. There was a murmuring in the crowd, the people talking amongst themselves. There was no... Excuse me? There was no conspiratorial note to their whispering, however. It was merely the grumbling of riffraff. Another one for the chopping block, huh? It's for disloyalty to the daimyo, supposedly. How many does this make? He should have known that would happen. What are you gonna do? It's just the way it goes. We're getting taxed to death. Hell, I don't know if we're gonna make it through the winter. I guess we just have to hope for the best. Oh, yum. I love having hope for dinner. Good God, why is this so relatable? Hey, what are you getting at? We're not people to them. They killed us. Or they'd kill us. You can't kill every weed in the field. Still sweating, the man with his arms bound laughed. Behind him stood a samurai official, sword in hand. The sword that would end the bound man's life.
そうとも。俺たちは雑草以下じゃねえか。
Aww. Why does it sound like an old man? That very moment, a foot came into his field of view, gravel crunching beneath it. Oh, it belonged to the governor, the one appointed by the daimyo lord. He surveyed the crowd, meeting the people's gazes, and they fell silent in an instant.
よし。
Oh, this face does not suit this. this face does not suit what's happening. Yeah. I love that my ad face is just me being a smug asshole. No. No. They were definitely being like the metaphysical kind of hope. So, depression for dinner. Alright. That face has gone, so I can continue. Good. The governor nodded, smirking, and without a word, he gave his official the signal to go ahead.
本当によろしいんで、せめて最後に。無用だ。
Oh. No last rites, no last words, no nothing? The governor said no more and gave the signal again.
そうだよな。無実のやつを進んで切りたかねえもんな。
That sucks, dude. It says innocent man behind my tails. I'm sorry. I'm sure you can... I'm sure you could discern that.
おい大官さんよ。こっちのお役人はあんたよりまだマシってもんだぜ。
Okay. This guy gives me serious, like, have you seen the Pocahontas movie? This guy feels like Governor Radcliffe. Like, real fucking vibes from this guy. Which makes sense, considering Governor Radcliffe was, like, licking the king's boots, basically. That's kind of what this guy's... the vibe he's giving off. The governor looked down on the peasant in stony silence. He had already given his order. The crowd watched with bated breath. They knew the small act of defiance meant nothing, but they were curious to see what would happen.
なんで俺たちがこんなに絞られなくちゃならねえんだ。取った魚も取った稲も何もかんも持っていかれて四六時中腹をすかしていなきゃなんねえんだ。なあ、おかしいと思わねえのか。俺たちは十分すぎるほど貢いでるじゃねえか。それをな。
Oh.
やれ。おめえらに全部持っていかれて、おっかあも息子もみんな死んじまったんだ。それをおかしいと言って何が悪い。
Oh. So sad. Honestly, this is like actual, like real shit. The serf had a crazed look in his bloodshot eyes. The angry red veins branching through them made it look as though he had cried every last tear his ducts could hold. The executioner looked at him with pity, as though he were a feral dog that was going to be put down.
お前らみんな呪われろ。死んじまえ。
Oh.
周りの奴らもみんなこのままじゃ絞り殺されちまうぞ。あのクソ漁師に殺され。
Oh. Oh yeah, there's some gore in this game also. So if obviously the content warning is there, but the gore in this game is not like Saya. This is violent gore. So people have their limbs removed and shit in this game. So also the ripping of innards apparently happens as well. So there's a lot of like gross imagery in this game. Which is why this video is tagged like 3 layers deep with fucking content warnings. His head rolled off and fell to the ground. The cut was clean and professional. The governor grinned as he watched blood begin to spill over the rocks. When he was satisfied, he turned to the crowd and spoke.
これと意を同じくする旅外者はいるか?
Everyone shook their heads in response, lips pursed solemnly. The official who had performed the execution gave an approving nod, to which the governor smiled. It was a genuine smile, the smug satisfaction of a man who'd crushed a pesky fly.
いつものように始末しておけ。ご苦労だったな。
Oops. Hi. The executioner bowed to the governor as he took his leave of the riverbank. He was followed. Is that retinue? He was followed by a retinue of samurai who seemed to, as though they had come out of nowhere. Okay, hold on. There's no way that's how you say that word. Oh, hold on. Oh, it's retinue, like a U. Okay. Sorry, I think learning Japanese is fucked the way I think of. Like, if there's an E at the end, it's e. It's a new e, and not just new. Alright. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because that's not a word I see very often. So. Meanwhile, the severed head stared back into the crowd, eyes unblinking. Yeah, I'm sure. The farms and fisheries of the island were generally bountiful. It was rare for them to see a bad harvest or a small catch. There was no hope of an uprising. The island was too far from the mainland for one to have any chance of success. Hard as the peasants might fight, there were no potential allies for them to find. The island had been fairly independent until a few decades prior, when a daimyo from the mainland declared it to be his property. Japan had entered its warring states period. Oh, it's the Edo period right now. Okay. The warring states period, warlords and strong men came to blows over land and power as the shogun and his government in Muromachi became increasingly irrelevant. Where once the daimyo had been mere agents of the shogun's ultimate authority, they began to see themselves instead as the rightful owners of the lands they ruled. Each one was soon the king of his own petty fiefdom. God, I know this word. Every time I see it, though, I always want to say it wrong. Oh, please, Saya, that joke's not funny. As the war raged across the land, it was not uncommon for the powers that be to change overnight. None of that was of any concern to the people of this island, though. All that mattered to them was how their lives were becoming more and more unbearable. Okay. They kept hoping that it would be soon be over, soon things would change. Hope there was the fire they were being cooked over while their bellies stayed empty and their lives grew worse. Yeah, they do be eating hope for dinner. They didn't know what people on the mainland called their island Nieshima, the Isle of Offerings. Okay. It was a fitting name. The islanders were the offerings. Asa threw up, leaning against the wall outside the rundown row house he called home. He'd just come back from the riverbank. Why was it looking at me? What the hell? Well, yeah, I mean, he could still see the severed head staring straight into his eyes. He couldn't get it out of his mind. It wasn't the first time. He had seen numerous peasants like himself lose their heads at that riverbank, and they always looked into his eyes. He could still see them, the memories swirling in his head. He hated going to executions, but he couldn't help but think, what if it was him? What if it was his daughter? He couldn't just ignore them, he couldn't stay away, and every time they made eye contact. Ugh. Thank God for not showing that.
おい朝、また吐いてるのか。もったいない。
Aw. Asa turned to see who was there, looking sick to his stomach. It was Jin, another peasant he knew from First Village.
仕方ないだろう。まったく。どいつもこいつも。なんで俺に目を向けるんだ。気のせいだよ、気のせい。ほら、しっかりしな。センちゃん、まだ具合が悪いんだろ。ああ、すまん。
Asa tried to pull himself together, appreciating the comforting way Jen was patting his back. Forget the others. If I don't figure out something soon, we'll be just as dead. He couldn't afford to waste what little there was in his stomach. Swallowing his bile, Asa cleared his throat, wiped his mouth, and then forced a laugh.
もう大丈夫だ。ありがとう。ならいいが。今度は5の村のやつだったが。その前は7の村だ。最近特に多いな。当たり前だ。
Gen glanced around and to check for listening ears before he lowered his voice and continued.
もうずっと我慢しっぱなしだが、今年は特にまずい。このままだとどんどん死ぬぞ。雑草を引っこ抜くみたいにな。嫌なもんだ。
Yeah, I can imagine. The crack in Asa's voice spoke to how hopeless he felt in a way that words couldn't.
まあな。
Jin was hurting as well. The daimyo and his governors in the villages were taking nearly all the food for themselves. The taxes were beyond heavy. They left so little for the peasants that it seemed unlikely any of them would survive. It was still only autumn, so things were okay for the time being. Still, winter was on its way and people's stores were already running low. They could all be dead by the end of the season. Okay, I'm gonna, like, a little aside here. I've never understood why, like, back in this time period, right? So I've never understood why, like, governments would just be like, okay, it's fine. We're gonna just starve our people to death and eventually not have anyone to, like, take from. How does that work? How is that good for you? You should take care of your people. They can provide you with things that you want, and that's fine. You don't have to take all of it to the point where they're dying. I really don't get how... I guess power is like all corrupting, so you don't even think about how it affects you in the long term. You're just like, I have all the rice and the fish, and I am the most powerful one in the land. And everyone around me is dying because I am a huge greedy jackass. I just don't think it... The math doesn't math for me. Like, what's the point? I don't know. I don't get it. Like, people are not indispensable. Like, if you kill everyone, eventually there will be no one. So what?
仕方ねえさ。俺たちは奴隷なんだよ。人じゃねえ。でもよ、俺んとこもうちのと二人食っていくのが精一杯で。あいつも毎日痩せてよ。
I mean, yeah. If you're already in power, then yeah, you don't. But again, if you run out of people to steal from, then what was the point? Eventually there's no one giving you anything. You lose all of your wealth and power because you have nothing. You have nothing to rule over. Yeah, I have this plot of land. I don't know how to cultivate it or fish or any of that shit because I've been stealing from people my entire life, basically. I guess so. I guess I could just say, oh yeah, they just never touch grass in their fucking life, so they don't understand how dumb it is to do this. It just feels... The nobles will always be noble or whatever. Something like that. All right.
声が大きいと目をつけられるぞ。
Again, shut his mouth and check the surroundings again. There didn't appear to be anyone eavesdropping.
せめて処刑場はよそに移してくれねえかな。領主様のお膝元の方がいいと思うんだが。
Is that a billionaire thing anymore? I feel like it's just like all boomers say shit like that, where it's like, oh, you don't have enough of whatever, just fucking work harder. Lol. I guess it does go back to the being out of touch thing, though. It's like the same vein. But this is like the type of politics stuff I've never understood. Because I don't think it's good to just destroy your people. Like, yeah, you don't have anywhere else to go or whatever, and that's whatever. But, like, then you're just gonna kill them all. So... Asa sighed and looked up at the manor. It overlooked all the villages of the island from the on top of a hill. Gin laughed nervously at the remark.
お前のその発言の方がよっぽどじゃねえか。お膝元だからこそ、俺らの汚い血で汚したくないんだろうよ。
Sociopolitical, oh god. That scared the shit out of me. No. I brush all 9 of my tails every single night. Also, thank you for the follow. Saya, I don't think they give people degrees in sex, by the way. I think you can have a degree in anatomy, though.
河川敷なら砂利が臭くなりすぎたら流せばいいか。
He thought back to the dead man looking into his eyes, and then he shook his head in frustration.
どうしたもんかな。
どうしようもねえさ。
They both sighed and gave up on talking. Soon, they drifted listlessly back to their homes. Asa's door was stuck as usual. He was never going to get it fixed. However, with a little effort, he got it to slide open. Didn't exactly smell nice inside, but he was home, and it made him somewhat less anxious. Oh, there's a little girl here.
いい、寝てろ。
Oh. His daughter Sin was sleeping in the corner. Asa kicked off his straw sandals and went to her side. So is this a sick daughter?
調子はどうだ？
もう大丈夫だよ。
無理すんな。ほら、ゆっくり息しろ。
ほら、大丈夫。
This is so sad. I don't like this at all. Sin tried to force a smile as she coughed. Asa watched with a solemn look on his face. Thank you for that, Sari.
ごめんね。私、早く元気になりたいな。そうすれば、夫に迷惑かけずに
She's probably starving to death and sick. So.
そうだな。そのためにも今はゆっくり休め。
うん。ごめんね。
His daughter was apologizing to him for being sick, but there wasn't a damn thing he could do to comfort her. All their most nourishing crops went straight to the governor. He'd already given Sin everything that was left over. Still, her health wasn't showing any signs of improvement.
明日にはまた精のつくもんを持ってきてやるから。
Hmm.
そしたら食べて元気になるさ。
I mean, I'm pretty sure if I understand what's happening in this story after like 20 minutes, this girl's dead. So he was lying. The only thing he could do for Sin was lie to her. Or was that just wishful thinking? Maybe he was actually lying to himself.
やったー。
Regardless, Sin laughed for him. It helped. Her smile was the only thing keeping Asa going, even though he hated himself for how guilty he didn't feel about making her comfort him.
ありがとう。ごめんね。おっと。
なんも謝ることはねえぞ。
Sin nodded after a long pause. Deadman's eyes were flashing before Asa. Still sitting next to Sin, Asa clenched his fists tight. I can't let her end up like them. They're not. There's no food. The fucking daimyo took it all. I have to save her, come hell or high water. That's all that matters. He was sincere, but illness and starvation belonged to a different order of truth than mere sincerity. Weakly, Sin placed a hand on Asa's fist. His grip was tight enough to draw blood, but he loosened it to let her slide her hand into his palm.
どうなって。あったかいな。
I mean, he's dying. They're literally starving. Like they're so emaciated. They're starving to death, bro.
そうか。
うん。あったかい。一人だと寒くて。
Sin smiled
ごめん
sheepishly.
ね。
Aw.
おっと。私に構ってちゃダメなのに。ごめんね。
For all her apologizing, Sin didn't let go. She was like a mewling stray, hungry for attention. She knew he couldn't stay with her all the time. She was trying not to be selfish, but that just made her want to cling even harder.
いいさ。お前が寝るまでこうしてるからな。
Asa bowed his head in relief as he squeezed her hand. It was bony and cold, but her pulse was still there. He wanted so badly to feel the life in her. Aw. She wasn't apologizing this time. Asa smiled at that. But even as he sought warmth in his daughter's hand, he found himself being splashed in the face with the cold water of reality. Asa was at a loss for what to do. How did it get to this point? He had heard things were different when his parents were little and his grandparents in their prime. The previous daimyo wasn't as bad. Back then, the islanders of Nieshima had no reason to be interested in mainland politics. They blindly believed things would always be the same. What difference did it make to them who the daimyo's boss was? They paid their taxes reliably. What good would it do him to ask for more than they could offer? It struck Asa as the attitude of a sheep ripe for the slaughter. It must have been nice to believe they could live in peace forever. They never even thought to arm themselves. Hell, maybe that was just the right call at the time. Their daimyo may not have been so lenient if he thought they were becoming a threat. Besides, life was good back then. As long as they kept him fed, he kept them safe from outside attacks. can't even imagine living that way. Asa was grinding his teeth audibly. Taxes had only gone up since the start of the new daimyo's reign. At this point, the islanders were truly slaves. Whether farmer or fisher, they lived only to serve him. They couldn't hope for even the most basic dignities. Was it really all because power had changed hands on the mainland? Maybe there was a bad harvest they were trying to make up for. But bad harvest didn't last for decades, and even if one had, it would be their problem to deal with themselves. If we let the daimyo keep having his way, we'll starve, and if we demand change, he'll kill us. Like Catch-22 for real. Just like the ones who had lost their heads at the riverbank and stained the gravel red. Asa squeezed his daughter's hand as she coughed. We're doomed. Sin's gonna be the first to go. But even in his darkest hour, Asa wouldn't cry out to the gods for help. He knew his prayers would go unanswered. The idea of being reborn in paradise did nothing for him. He needed help in this life. Aw. Dude. What do I do? What am I supposed to do? Asa had a good head on his shoulders. He was careful and tried not to let slip remarks about the governor or daimyo, but he could feel the pressure building all around him. There were 7 villages on the island, and in each one of them, people were reaching the absolute limits of what they could take. Just a little push and they would explode. But that'd just make things worse. We'd be goners. The daimyo's governors would hear about it if they started amassing weapons, and to stand a fighting chance, they'd have to muster far too large a force to move undetected. The daimyo would have plenty of time to rally his own troops, and he and his personal army could weather a siege on his hilltop manor until reinforcements from the mainland arrived. And when they did, they'd kill the islanders. If they left any survivors, it would only be so that they could continue to work on the land for the daimyo. Things would be even worse than they are now for anyone who was still alive. The islanders would only have a chance of success if their strike was quick and decisive, and even then, they would still need some way of holding off the mainland. Overthrowing the daimyo alone was a tall order. Doing it without facing outside intervention would be impossible. Damn it, Sen's really gonna go? No, not yet. Clenching his fists, Asa watched his daughter sleep. Her breathing was strained. She was all skin and bones, but even so, she had such a look of pure innocence. It warmed her father's heart. There's got to be something I can do for her. She's the only thing that really matters. He racked his brain again for a way to save the one good thing in his life. Seeing him struggle to hold back his tears, Sen smiled at him.
これ、お母と同じ病気かな。
そうかもな。
Her mother had passed away a year prior. It was her lungs. Now Sen was displaying very similar symptoms.
でも、お前だけじゃねえ。お前が悪いわけじゃねえ。
I don't think that makes it better. If a lot of people have caught it, that means it's probably a problem. She cast her gaze aside for just a moment, enough time for Asa's heart to break. It wasn't the first time he'd seen that expression. His wife was one among many people who had given him that look.
私、死んじゃうんだね。
It was the look of a spirit who had given up.
そんなこと言うんじゃねえ。お前は死なせん。あいつを失ってお前まで先に行かれたら残った俺はどうするんだ。
He didn't have any way of making good on his promise, but he had to say it.
胸を患ってるのはお前の他にも大勢いるんだ。みんなどの村でも治したいと思ってる。それだけ皆で頑張ってるのに治らねえわけがねえだろ。
そっか。そうだね。
A hint of the will to live had returned to Sen's face. Asa was relieved, but he hated himself a little for misleading her. It's not a lie. It's not a lie. There's gonna be a cure for sin for all the kids. There has to be. The very young, the very old, and anyone with naturally weak constitutions were catching it in droves. It began with a cough that wouldn't let up, then they would wither and die. They would recover over time with rest and proper nutrition, but those affordances wouldn't be available to the people of Nishima anymore. If there's no other way, she could stow away to the mainland. No, they'd kill her if they caught her. I can't let that happen. That would be too risky, but they didn't have much time. I'm about to mute this girl's voice line so she can't be sad.
治ったらまたみんなと遊びたいな。夫も一緒に遊んでくれる？
Oh man.
ああ、もちろんだと思う。だから今はしっかり休んで直すことに専念しろ。
はーい。
Alright. Shin shut her eyes and continued drawing pained breaths. How long does she have? A month or two? There's no way she can make it through winter. The situation seemed hopeless. To believe anything else was just wistful thinking. Asa bit his lip hard enough to draw blood as he firmly held his daughter's hand. The next morning, Asa dragged himself out of bed to go work in the fields. He was just as tired as when he'd laid down, and no one in his row house seemed to have fared any better. This crap never gets any easier. Asa and the peasants like him worked the land, but the daimyo owned it. They were merely tenants. And if their work wasn't up to snuff, they would be evicted.
おい、朝。他の村の連中とも相談してるんだけどよ。
やめろっつっただろうが。
Oh.
そんなもん、川山用だけ立てても意味がねえ。疑われ。
He didn't turn to meet Gen's gaze. The two of them kept their eyes on their work as they continued talking.
でも、このまま死ぬのか？お前だって冬を越せねえのは分かってるだろう。海の連中だって同じだ。
勝ち目が薄すぎるんだよ。俺は線を残して死ぬわけにはいかねえんだ。
このまま行けばどの道同じことじゃねえか。
なんだと。
Asa's voice was suddenly cold. He scowled at the other man, eyes full of hatred.
悪い、言い過ぎた。だが、事実だろ。
You still shouldn't. There's things you shouldn't say out loud.
諦めるつもりはねえぞ。
Okay. Asa said his piece and returned to his work. Glancing around, he spotted a samurai official walking by a little ways off. Overseers like him would make rounds and shout orders at any peasants they found slacking off.
いけすかねえやつらだ。
まったくな。
They gave each other a look and shook their heads. There was nothing to gain by letting things go on as they were. Time was running out while Asa did nothing. Asa's breath grew faster. It felt like he was giving up on his daughter, just letting her die. The vast majority of the elders died last winter. The food that would have been for them instead went to the children, and even then it was at least a third of kids died too. Good God. I couldn't stand to think about what life would be like in the spring if he's still alive.
なあ。
Again, the other villagers, the entire island, they were all at their breaking point, and honestly, Asa felt the same. Why not snap and get it over with? His daughter was the only thing keeping him from doing something desperate. If he lost Sen, he would probably follow close behind. She was his everything. After all, he had failed to save his wife.
おい、そこの二人。
I'm actually gonna BRB real fast. Alright, got more water and move my fan closer. It's not that hot today, but my setup makes the room warmer than necessary. Well, I guess it's 80. This face doesn't match this fucking tone. I need to change this. Also again looked up at the official who barked at them.
あそこのが倒れて動いておらん。
Oh.
へい。
はいはい。
手遅れだったらいつもと同じで。
構わん。いつまでも居座られては目障りだ。さっさと起こすなり捨てるなりしてこい。
Alrighty then. One after the other, the official looked to Asa again and the third peasant before walking away. He didn't look back at them even once.
Asa.
ああ、そこに置いてある。
Asa pointed to the spot behind them just outside the field where they'd found a wooden plank. They would have to carry the man... Oh, they'd have to carry the man on it.
くそ、
Alright.
慣れちまってるな。
Yeah. Asa swore as he helped Gin haul the body. He was almost certainly dead. The best thing to do would be to get him out of the official sight as quickly as possible.
何人目か数えてるか？
いや、キリがない。
Sullenly, the men carried out their grim task. Yeah. They listened to the sea as they hoisted the body along. The man's death merited no fanfare.
こいつの家に知らせてやるやつが必要だな。
ああ、俺が行く。
Asa volunteered. He was used to it. Gen gave him a sheepish look. Wait, Tinkaton is... Pretty sure Tinkaton's a legendary or something. Oh no, it's not. It's just kind of rare. Yay. Alright.
悪いな。お前には甘えっぱなしで。
死んだのを伝えるなんて嫌がって当然だ。
本当か？
Nah.
ああ。
Grunting with effort. Asa didn't bother giving up more than a one-word answer. Of course he minded it. It broke his heart to see the looks on the faces of the bereaved family members, but someone had to do it and it might as well be him. Asa tried to look at it that way.
あともうちょっとか。
そうだな。もっと沖の方まで進むぞ。
Are they just dumping bodies in the ocean? Suppose that makes sense. They were a short way from the dock, walking along the top of a rocky embankment. The ground was uneven and treacherous. But Asa and Gen had been horsing around there since they were children, so they had no trouble navigating the terrain.
懐かしい場所が今じゃ死体捨てに絶好の場所だって言うんだからゾッとするな。
Nice, I actually caught it. Let's go. You were like a second late, jeez. Yeah, a little bit.
胸くそが悪くなる。
There was disgust in Gen's voice. He quickened his pace and also tried to keep up so as to not drop the body. The rocks were only exposed when the tide was low. As the tide went out, the water would carry away anything there was. If you left the body there, it would be gone the next day. We're treating the dead like garbage. You shouldn't put garbage in the ocean either, though. Grimly, also surveyed the area around them.
よし、この辺でいいだろ
う。じゃあ、せーのっと。
To be fair though, like the bodies will get eaten by, you know, carnivorous fish at the very least. The two of them tilted the plank down. and the dead man tumbled down the rocks. His limbs flailed in the air with each bump and roll, but Asa didn't seem to pay it any mind. I've seen it a million times before. No one had the time or strength to hold a funeral or dig a grave anymore. All they could do was send the bodies out to sea, with hopes that they would never return to this wretched island.
なあ朝やっぱりやるしかねえよ。このまま冬になったら全員死んじまう。
だが
あいつらに殺されるんだぞ。うちの親は両方とも俺たちに飯を分けて死んだ。
Damn.
最後は納屋に自分たちを閉じ込めて、俺があげた時、
Oh my God.
親父とおふくろは噛みつき合って死んでたんだ。俺たちは人だろう。あんなのは人の死に方じゃねえ。
俺だってそうだ。うちのは満足に飯も食えないまま血を吐き散らかして死んだんだ。どこの村でも流行ってる胸の病気だ。あれがどういう死に様か知らないわけでもねえだろう。
His daughter would join them soon. There was nothing he could do, he knew that. And yet still...
許せねえことは
Yeah.
だったら
Asa turned to see what had caught Gen's eye. A little ways off, he saw a glimpse of what looked like white fabric and gold threads in the shadow of the embankment.
なんだありゃ。
Gen froze up, but Asa moved forward to investigate.
おい危ねえぞ。
うるせえ。ありゃ人の形だ。毛色がちょいと違うだろうが人に違いねえ。
言われてみりゃそうだな。
Asa sensed Gen behind him as he made his way for the spot below.
にしてもこりゃ確かにへんてこなやつだな。
Judging by the flat chest, it seemed to be a man, but his skin was ghostly white and he had yellow hair that shined when the light reflected off of it.
朝どうすんだ。
こうする。
He gave the man a kick in the chest, which he responded with a start. Oh. The man sat up and vomited a mix of bile and salt and seawater before he immediately fell back to the ground.
生きてるみたいだ
Looks like
が。
he's alive.
は？役人に知らせなくてもいいのか？
どう見てもまともじゃねえんだ。渡したところでろくな目には合わないだろうよ。それに気がついてからこいつが自主的に役人に申し出ても遅くはねえだろう。
For the sake of his conscience, also wanted to keep the man safe. Or at least he would have to turn himself in of his own accord.
俺は知らねえからな。手伝うのは運ぶところまでだ。
それだけでも十分だ。
Asa smiled in thanks, and the two of them started moving the man onto the plank. The man's breathing had steadied. There probably wasn't any more water in his lungs. I've never seen anyone like this guy. Maybe he'll know some kind of remedy. Then they could cure sin, and that's not gonna happen, I know that, but I can't help it. Asa tensed his face and lowered his jaw to hold back the tears as he helped lift the man up. Nothing wrong with a little blind faith. What's the worst that could happen? There was more than a hint of self-deprecation in the thought. With that, he and Gen carried the man away. Asa had to cling to whatever shreds of hope he could find. Oh, okay. I guess the game's officially beginning now. shit goes completely insane at some point. Which I knew already, but like, it's kind of crazy seeing it in like the opening. Nice. We got the opening finally. It took a while. Time passed, and soon even the 19th century was nearing its end. The Meiji Restoration had brought an end to the long reign of the Tokugawa government, and the capital's name was changed from Edo to Tokyo. Once a mere scattering of clans and islands, Japan became a modern nation-state. Then the Meiji area also passed into history, and the Taisho Emperor took his place on the throne. Each dizzying transformation of the country had its own impact on our little island. Still, although change was inevitable, it happened more slowly in Niishima. Nearly 20 people were walking down the tree-lined mountain road, their feet disturbing the peace of the normally serene woods. They proceeded in an orderly manner, conducting themselves almost like soldiers, although they bore no striking uniforms or insignia. The looks on their faces were varied. Some grimaced solemnly, while others gave the impression that they were there only because someone told them they had to be. It would be difficult to surmise their purpose based on looks alone. The path they were going down appeared to have arisen naturally from being walked many times. There was no evidence that anyone had made a road intentionally. Clearly the path was not meant for the general public. A dude. There is a man. They were members of House Yasuka. At their center stood a young man who they appeared to be guarding. His name was Kudo. It's Kudo. And he was moving in perfect time with the others. He was not a beautiful man per se, but he was good looking all the same. His face called to mind a tiger at rest. His physique was lithe and muscular like a ferocious predator. Sure. His hands, however, were very large, which created an almost cartoonish effect. And although he was constantly alert, there was also something sleepy about his manner. Truly, he was a man of contradictions. Wait, there's a Ninetales? Oh no. No, there's not. That was you. Yeah, you fucked up. I was like, wait a second, a Ninetales? But no. Yeah, you didn't change the color, dumbass. Anyway. That was the first impression of everyone who met Yasuka Kudo. God, I'm gonna have to... It's Kudo. God damn it. Kudo kept shifting his posture. He couldn't get comfortable. The clothes were too fancy, far more luxurious than the simple outfits the others were wearing. He had never dressed up like this in his entire life. Why do I have to wear this? Kudo was frustrated. He wasn't about to cease his march, but his heart wasn't in it. Absent-mindedly, he was flexing his hands. The one beside him teased him with a smirk.
どうだろう。よくわからない。
素直でよろしい。不安かと思ったけど、そうじゃない？
そういうのはないかな。こういう時は不安があった方がいい。
そのままでいいよ。ごまかしてもすぐに化けの皮が剥がれるでしょ。あなた、そんなに器用じゃないんだから。
先生が言うならそうかもね。
のんきにしてるな。
This is a teacher? I don't know about that. Alright. Her eyebrows sank in aspiration. Yasaka Io found talking to Koto frustrating at times. Her condescension would have seemed strange to an outside observer. Judging by her stature, you wouldn't expect her to be a day older than 12. However, she had already seen 5 decades come and go. This is a 50-year-old woman. But yeah, I guess. Her hair had gone gray a long time ago, but there were still streaks of pink here and there near the ends. And her purple eyes shone like amethysts. They were almost hypnotic. None of the Yasaka looked average, but she especially stood out.
それより先生はそのま
I
ま
like
でい
how
い
they're
の
like her eyes are purple, but they didn't show us her eyes at all.
式家に婿殿を届けに行くのに姿をごまかしちゃ失礼でしょ。
失礼とか気にする柄だっけ
I mean, sure. Io pursed her lips, hoping no one had heard her. Kuro smiled and continued walking, as did some of the others around them. Io was the family's ultimate authority, and they all respected her. She was their sensei. The Yasaka made their home in on Nanawara Island, and although the so-called 7 noble houses that govern the island did not include them in their power-sharing schemes, they were nonetheless a force to be reckoned with. Damn, 25 streams? That's whack. Is that a Wooloo? Shit. Not all members of the family were related by blood, nor did they necessarily share a single common ancestor. They were, however, being raised together. House Yasaka was a single large organization directed by a headmistress. That headmistress was Io. It meant something when they called her sensei. She was like a mother to them. Sensei doesn't normally let outsiders see her like this. It must be serious to her. If Io didn't mask her appearance, she had a reason. Either she was dealing with someone very important, or she wanted to make a strong impression.
しかし
いい加減覚悟を決めなさい。
理由がわからない。
わからなくとも
Oh
なんとか
shit.
なるでしょう。
I accidentally pressed my space bar and it just went away. Oh. Okay. I guess that's fine. No one caught the Wooloo? That's crazy.
先生楽しんでないか
自慢のこの晴れ舞台なんだから嬉しいに決まってるじゃない。
Theo tilted her head thoughtfully and it was an adorable gesture, but that was but what was behind it remained opaque. She really won't tell me. Questions lingered in Kuro's mind, but all he could do was keep walking. He would get no answers from Io. 10 minutes or so later, they finally exited the woods. Oh. Whoa! Nanawara village spread out before them. It was more or less the same as the last time Kuro had seen it. Automatically, Kuro took advantage of the view to orient himself, locating each of the 7 noble houses by sight. Ichikuro of 1 treasury, Futara of 2 wilds, Kazuri of 3 boars, Shiki of 4 seasons, Gosha of 5 monuments, Rikugo of 6 islands, and Seigusa of 7 herbs. I wonder what they'll do with me. Kuro wasn't nervous, he simply wondered. House Yasuka had no place in the village. Their home was on the other side of the island, separated from Nanawara by steep and difficult back roads. There was more than one reason for their being segregated from the other families. A prominent factor was the Asuka themselves. I need
さて、
more fucking water.
時間はちょうどいいくらい。このまま遅れないように行きましょう。
The headmistress spoke, and her children called back in unison, acknowledging her command. Kudo and the others were all Io's children. Why did I say Io? Io. Io's children. They were all the products of her craft. There would always be a demand for wet work, reconnaissance, sabotage. House Yasuka's trade was rearing individuals suited to each task and selling them as commodities. Of course, an artisan needs raw materials to work with. The Yasuka were not picky about where they obtained theirs. Many of them started out as children taken from the mainland. So given their vocation, House Yasuka was not well loved among the islanders. That's why what was going on didn't make any sense. House Shiki is the most prestigious noble house on the island, and they want me to marry their daughter? This has to be some kind of trick. But trick or no, the matter was no joke to Kudo. God damn it. I don't like his name. I don't know why. As they traveled down the main street, Kudo observed the many shops along the way. He could hardly tell or call them bustling, however. In fact, there were surprisingly few people out and about for the middle of the day. Such a reception didn't surprise Kudo. The Yasuka were outsiders here. The people of Nanawara village didn't look kindly on their family's trade. Kudo and the others could feel the stares of passerbys. Okay, I think that's just a typo and I'm losing my fucking mind. They didn't pay them any mind. They had come to Nanawara knowing what it would be like.
なるほど。
Kudo commented to himself, and then he took a deep breath and straightened his back. Only a moment before he had the air of a cat lazing in the sun, but now he was stoic and intimidating. Taking notice of the katana that he wore on his waist, the looks that were focused on him just a moment ago disappeared as if they were frightened away. Since they forced him to take the katana with him, to Kudo it was merely dead weight, but it was certainly effective as insect repellent. That's fucked up, but yeah, alright.
あら、今頃やる気出した？お目通りに間に合ってよかったじゃない。
Yay.
いや、そっちでのやる気じゃない。
Io tilted her head inquisitively. It was a smug gesture. She suspected she already knew what was on Kuro's mind. We all knew what to expect. If they smell weakness, they'll think I'm useless. Kuro didn't have any way of knowing what Io was scheming, but he didn't need to. Whatever happened, he wasn't going to let himself bring shame to House Yasuka. What if the Shiki had only called them here to humiliate them, and everything about the engagement was just a pretext? What do I do then? Kuro considered the matter intently, but he didn't have any particularly strong feelings about it. He had been carefully reared so that the drives of resentment and ego would hold no sway over him. It was one of his selling points. Yeah, I could see that. He did, however, foresee at least one potential issue. He looked to Io.
先生、もしあれだったら指示を。
あれって？何？
あれはあれで。
あんたのそういうとこいいと思うよ。
She gave him a pat on the back as though to comfort him. I shouldn't make her worry about me. He regretted saying anything, but he soon forgot about that when he saw they were finally approaching House Shiki's manor. Oh. The hell? The 7 noble houses of Nanawara all made their homes in manors like this one. The architecture gave off an imposing aura up close. Kudo's eyes were sharp, and with a decent view, he could spot all 7 manors at a distance. Still, they didn't have the same feel from far away. Each noble house had a trademark flower that grew in their gardens.
よく咲いてるね。あんたが来るのに合わせたみたいじゃない。
少し目に痛いけど綺麗だね。
They're hard to look at? What? Yasuka had stopped to admire the camellia blossoms. Someone had anticipated their arrival, and the gates swung open before them. Oh. That girl does not look like she belongs in this set of people. She just doesn't belong in this image. I mean, I don't either, to be honest. When they passed through the entrance to the estate, they came into a vast garden with the central manor before them. A group of shiki were there to receive them. Kudo hadn't expected that. They came out to meet us? The shiki considered House Yasuka beneath them. As far as the 7 noble houses of Nanawara were concerned, all that mattered about House Yakuza was that their sordid business in human trafficking. They were a source of cheap labor and services at best. They really want me to marry their daughter? Kudo wasn't sure what Io expected, but he didn't think this visit would be anything special. It had seemed likely that House Shiki would have called them there to do some kind of dirty work. He thought they were simply going to demand a backroom deal. Just a business transaction, the buying and selling of chattel slaves. Oh my god. But if that were the case, we wouldn't be getting such a formal reception.
八坂家が棟梁、八坂伊予、まかり越しましてございます。
Io bowed politely, and with the exception of Kudo, the other Yasuka behind her sank to their knees and prostrated themselves. Kudo, however, remained standing. He bowed politely, as Io did, and that was all. He reasoned that it could be rude to act excessively humble when they were receiving him like an honored guest. And it appeared he had reasoned correctly, as a large-framed old man stepped forward from the center of the group of shiki. It was Shiki Dojin, head of the house.
伊予殿、ご苦労。苦労殿、顔を上げられよ。はっ。
Kudo lifted his head and did as he was told. Dogen began to look him over intently. He made no effort to hide the fact that he was appraising Kuro as a prospective purchase. A normal person may have been intimidated, but not Kuro. He simply wasn't one to feel such emotions. Far from being nervous, it seemed almost as though Kuro was feeling out Dogen's intentions for him. Either that, or he was simply thinking nothing at all.
捉えどころのない男だな。
Nice.
ご満足いただけませんでしたか？
いや、嫌いではない。もとより、今回の件はわしの意の外だ。
That was weird. Kind of felt like the audio freaked out for a second. Alright. Logan gave a magnanimous nod and shifted his demeanor in an instant. He turned to Kuro again with a gentle look in his eyes.
安心されよ。婿殿に無体な真似はせんし、八坂をどうこうしようという意図もない。どうかな、婿殿。
Kuro nodded. Evidently, Dugan could read him a little bit.
ご配慮いただき、感謝いたします。
それそのまま、言葉通りに受け止めればよい。
Quickly, Kuro glanced around at the other shiki present. There was a girl among them who blushed and looked down when he met her gaze. Kuro wasn't the best at understanding emotions, but even he understood the implication. I mean, yeah, she's the only one of age here.
いやー、めでたいめでたい。お互い顔合わせは済んだことですし、我々は失礼させていただきます。
そうか。少し休んでいっても構わんが、無理に引き止めはせんよ。
ご好調、感謝いたします。しかし、私たちが長居するほど、指揮権にあらぬ噂が立ちかねません。
婿殿の親子ならそんな噂など気にすることもあるまいに。
道元様、お戯れはほどほどになさってください。
Her charming manners aside, Io gave off the unemotional air of a businesswoman, which befitted the headmistress of House Yakuza.
八坂九郎はただいまをもって指揮家にお引き取りいただきました。何か教育不行き届きがありましたらいつでも申し付けください。それでは失礼いたします。
With that, Io turned and left without waiting for a response from Dogen. Her retinue followed. Unlike when they arrived, however, they left the scene without a sound.
クエン女だ。
そうですね。
Hi. Dogen's eyes widened for a moment at Kuro's reply to his muttering. He cracked a smile.
婿殿はなかなかの男だな。さすが、伊予殿が傑作と評するだけのことはある。
Well?
実感がありません。単なる売り文句ではないでしょうか。
わしの目が節穴だと勘違いする女でもあるまい。だとすれば、貴殿の自覚が不足しているのだろうよ。
自覚するよう努めます。
But Kuro wasn't sure he was up to the task. Yeah, learning self-awareness is kind of difficult. He was never trained to evaluate his own abilities. Still, as head of House Shiki, Dogen was his new master. If self-awareness was what was expected of him, Kuro's duty to improve in that area.
婿としての自覚も不足しているように見受けられるが、いかがかな？
うん。そちらも自覚するよう努めます。
まあよかろう。
I see. This guy's the most stoic.
その見事な立ち居振る舞いに不足はない。良い仕上がりだ。
Dogen smiled wider with satisfaction before turning to the girl, who still had her eyes cast down.
京子、お前の婿殿だ。あとは任せで構わんな。
Shiki Kyoko, goddamn. Shiki Kyoko looked up to reply, snapping to attention.
緊張するのはわかるが、お前が望んだのだぞ。ならば。
Oh. She asked for this?
喜んでお任せください。
まあ、好きにせよ。
Logan spoke like he didn't care, but he was smiling. With that, he looked from Kyoko to Kuro and then turned and went inside. That left Kuro, Kyoko, and...
では、まずは私から。
I feel like the bot's just being a dick right now. No Pokemon for you guys. The older woman spoke up in a gentle voice. She appeared to be in her 60s or so.
四季ゆき子、道元の妻です。いろいろと家の中のことを差配していますから、婿殿も何かあればお聞きくださいね。
She said as though we were passing a relay baton. The man beside her then took his turn.
四季寄り道だ。君の義父になる。
Oh. So this is Kyoko's dad. Is her mother dead, considering the terrible shit that happens here? Well, no, that wouldn't make sense because the grandma's alive. Although smaller than Dogen, Yorimichi was a large muscular man. His physique was intimidating, but his gaze was not.
婿殿、九郎君でいいか。
構いません。ゆきこさんもどうぞ好きにお呼びください。
あら、それじゃあ九郎さんとお呼びしますね。
九郎君。 私が君に望むことはそう多くない。あとは君の好きにしたまえ。
そのご要望をお聞かせいただけますか？
子を作る。
Make babies.
多ければ多いほどいい
Get to
が、
fucking, boy.
男は必ず産ませろ。
We need a fucking heir. So you better.
父上、それはあまりにも直接すぎる言い方では？
I mean, it definitely is.
どのみち子を産まん女など価値はな
Oh
い。
yeah. This is set
お前
in
もそれは
a
分かっ
time,
ているだろう。
okay? Kyoko blushed and fell silent. The blatant sexism bestowed upon her as a female. There was a time when producing an heir was considered a woman's primary role by much of the world. Nanawara Island was no exception. Uh-huh. Shut the fuck up, Saya. Kyoko looked back up and nodded in acknowledgement. Then, flushed with excitement, she turned her eyes to Kuro.
この方の子供を産みます。
It literally is just, what the fuck? What the fuck? I would love to just look at my man and be like, I'm going to have your babies, and just. She seemed overwhelmed with emotion. Her eyes were alight and shimmering with like radiant pools. Seeing her like that failed to stir anything in Kuro, but he did find her enthusiasm unusual. Thinking to himself, he felt he could admire her like he could a sunset. She's very pretty. He had to admit it.
期待して良さそうだ。では、
So
Kuro
fucking
君、
funny.
よ
Dude,
ろしく頼む。
so not emotional at all.
こちらこそこれからお世話になります。
Norimichi gave him a satisfied nod and proceeded after Dogen. Kyoko was staring at Kuro. It could have been a tense situation, but Kuro didn't feel uncomfortable. Only Kyoko was nervous.
それにしても楽しみね。京子ちゃんったらあの人や寄り道のいないところでずーっと浮かれていて。
I did say this was horror porn, so I mean it doesn't really matter. They're kind of doesn't have to be at the top. This isn't even the Edo period. This is the Taisho period now. It's still the same way. A lot of modern Japan is still like this, so maybe not in like the nobility sense, but like it's still like the female stuff is happening. No, but this is horror porn. It literally is. They're probably gonna have sex, maybe. I hopefully it's censored. It says it's censored. Oh wait, no, this is the Steam version. It's definitely censored. So.
おばあ様。
Yukiko patted Kyoko's shoulders teasingly.
それは産みますって言ってしまうわよね。クロさん、この子のそういう気持ち、重くても受け止めてあげてくださいね。
でも、この方にはこの方の。
はい。
Dude's just like, yes. Yeah, they're gonna hold hands real hard.
ほら、いいって言ってるじゃ
Well,
ない。
he's given him a mission, and I think that's all it takes for this guy.
よか。
Quietly, Yukiko retreated into the manor like while Kyoko was still reeling from her remark. Now it really was just the two of them. I mean, the JAST version said it has mosaics, But this is the Steam version. So, like, Steam loves to cut the fuck out of visual novels and just get rid of all the fun stuff. You know, like murder porn or whatever. Silence lingered even as Kyoko began to shuffle towards Kuro tentatively. She seemed nervous and her cheeks were still red. For his part, Kuro merely observed her approach. She was petite and attractive with luscious black hair. Kuro estimated her to be a few years younger than him. She was beautiful. It was indisputable.
先ほどは父上の手前ああ言いましたが、そうではなくて、いえ、でも違わないのですが。
He really is. He doesn't care about all this shit. But he does understand that she is attractive as a female. There was a flustered, breathy quality to her voice. A normal man probably would have grabbed her on the spot, but Kuro felt no such urge. Still, he understood the intention behind what she was saying.
改めてお伺いしますね。
You are at work. She bit her lip and swallowed before speaking again.
私にあなたの子供を産ませていただけますか?
She's asking permission to give birth, by the way, which is an insane thing to do.
Hi.
Hi. Yes, I have no other answers to this question. He didn't have any reason to say no.
聞き間
I
違い
mean,
で
that
は
was
あ
a
り
very
ませんよね。
straightforward question. It's kind of hard to fucking misunderstand, I think. Oh, fucking A.
ええ。言い間違いでもありません。いいですよ。
Yeah, we got this, bro. God. Kyoko covered her face with her hands, but she couldn't hide the shivers that shot up down her spine. Noticing that she seemed to like his answer, Kuro concluded that he had said the right thing. Like, no, fuck off, bitch. I don't want you to have my kids. Oh, man. No, this guy definitely has, like... His personality is that he has no personality, I guess. Which is fine. Kyoko suddenly went still and looked up at Kuro. Wait.
はい。
もしかして私が言ったから承知しているだけでは。肯定でも否定でもなく。
It means he didn't think that far.
なんとも言えません。
Yeah. Kuro wasn't troubled in the slightest. He simply wasn't sure. It didn't particularly matter because he was her property and would have a duty to obey her regardless. They did just... Dad just bought this guy for... Or, not Dad. Grandpa. Grandpa just bought this guy for his granddaughter to marry and fuck. So... literally no reason to be like, nah, fam, I'm good. It's very, very funny, all of this. I have no idea. It's possible there was more to it than that for him, but he had no way of saying for certain. Maybe he was just imagining it. Io had taught him that the importance of casting off such doubts.
Ma, それはそれでいいのでは?
I don't know. Would it be a problem? Oh. Saya, I'm sure someone will purchase you for breeding missions, but it won't be like that, you know? Kyoko pouted. Her expression betrayed a mix of delight and frustration.
では、私に産ませたいわけではないと?
I don't know, bro. Fuck. Do you want to have babies? Seems like a task.
積極的ではないですね。
Not something I have strong feelings about. I mean, this dude is like, he's not enthusiastic at all. I feel like he's the best fucking person for this because he's not like, yippee! I get to fuck this girl. Let's go. He really is. It's like the best person for this.
やっぱり。
Ah.
いえ。
You're not against me.
しかし、
No, I mean, he literally said he doesn't have strong feelings in either direction.
ええ、まあ、女性が子供を産まないとまずいのは私も分かっていますし。
Yeah.
そうではなくて。
はい。
Hi. Kyoko moved towards Kuro and looked him in the eyes, unyielding. She appeared to have regained some of her composure. Perhaps she had seen that things would not go exactly according to her fantasy.
まず、他人行儀な口調はやめましょう。
Ew, gross. Don't say that word. That word is the worst word ever invented to refer to a vagina. Oh, I don't have any ball? Whoops. I skipped a fucking word there. God damn it. Shut up. I want that ranunculus. Thank you. Whatever, bitch. I bought 20 Ultra Balls. The tongue on this model isn't as satisfying as the new one. That can be taken completely out of context. You can't time me out, motherfucker. I own this place. Ow. Alright. Okay, first of all, you can seem to be a bit friendlier. I mean, he's just stoic. He's not really not friendly.
わかりまし。
やめましょう。
ああ、わかった。
Oh, just voice-wise.
そちらの方が
You can
男ら
stop
しくて
talking
素
like
敵
we're
ですよ。
not friends. We're not about to bang.
ああ、そう。
Sure.
褒めましたが、嬉しくありませんか?
No.
嬉しい。
そういう社交辞令はいりません。
まあ、なんでもない。嬉しくなくはないけど。
そうですか。そうですか。なくはないですか。
I appreciate you appreciating that. I think you're sexy. Kyoko appeared to be happy. There was no doubting that, but at the same time, there was a sort of volatility to her behavior that Kuro found difficult to account for. She's hard to please, but not in the same way Sensei is. He had been taught that all women were hard to please, but what made Kyoko different was the affection. Right, I can't say I get it, but...
悪い気はしない。
見込みはあるということですね。
Then you're saying there's a chance. Kyoko gave him a satisfied smile and stepped back to give him more space.
では、クロウさん。今日からよろしくお願いします。
Yay!
婿とはいえ、まだ正式決定ではありませんので、 少しずつ進めていきましょう。
What, to bang the fuck out of you so you can give them babies in this Taisho era visual novel that we're playing right now?
わかった。京子さん。
呼び捨ててください。
うん。京子。
はい。
Kyoko's eyes lit up, but Kuro didn't pay it any mind. He reflected on their conversation up to that point. After a moment, he came to a conclusion.
京子。
クロウさん。
No, I was just trying to
呼び
be
合いたいわけじゃない。
okay.
クロウさん。
京子に呼ばれるのも嫌じゃないけど。
クロウさん。
Oh.
名前を呼ぶのはいいんだ。あと、さっきから何度かやってるけど、どうも俺は変われた。
クロウさんは私の夫です。買いましたが。
迎えられた先で対等の立場を要求されてどうするか。
では、私がその都度訂正すればいいのですね。
You're not allowed to call someone san if you're fucking them, I think, unless you're the female. I'm pretty sure. Cause like even adult women will call their significant other like oto-san, like if you're a dad, or just like, I don't know, anata is a term of endearment in Japanese because it just means you. It's very strange. But I don't know. I feel like calling someone by their name with a san at the end feels really formal for someone who's got their cock in you. So
京子には手間をかけるけど。
それはとても素晴らしいです。
そう。
はい。私が好きに教えられるなんて。
Oh. She's got something going on with her. This line right here makes me think she's got some shit going on with her. I mean, that makes sense. Like, again, it's just like it's the same vein of logic.
常識の範囲で頼む。
もちろんです。任せてください。クロウさんが疑念一つなく私と結ばれるよう誠心誠意努力いたします。
Lol. Me when I consummate the union. Ah! Lol. Alright, I'm done.
それは婿として来たわけだから正しいな。
Yep. He sounded more uncertain than he had up until that point, so Kyoko nodded affirmatively in response.
正しいですよ。必ず子供を産ませたいと思わせてみせます。
Oh my god. This fucking line. I'm gonna make you desperate to put a baby in me. Good god. Okay. By this point, several questions had occurred to Kuro. Why was Kyoko so fixated on him? Had they met somewhere before? Was there something he was missing? Perhaps she was mentally ill. If so, was there some way he could address that? He decided to set such questions aside. Even if he had the answers, he doubted they would have made any difference. It was apparent that she was too emotionally invested to be stopped. She cannot be fucking stopped, alright? Besides, as long as she liked him, the problem was there with her having strong what problem? God damn it. What problem was there with her having strong feelings about him?
では行きましょう。まずは屋敷の中を案内します。
There was a spring in her step as Kyoko headed toward the manor. Kuro followed after her.
早速、新しい発見があった。
Yeah.
私のおかげですか？
ああ。
Hi, hi. This is not smut. It does have the NSFW tag, but I'm pretty sure the NSFW tag is for all the gore. So, considering what happens to these girls, yeah. Kyoko's manners were refined, but she was cheerful and wore her heart on her sleeve. He nodded to her.
俺の器は自分で思っていたより広いらしい。
He never would have expected himself to care for the feelings of a girl who was so infatuated with him.
その器に身投げしたいです。
頭からはやめてくれ。
やばい。やばいです。You cannot. ダメダメ。
でしたら抱き留めてくださいますか？
For the first time since arriving at House Shiki, in fact, for the first time longer than he could remember, Kuro felt awkward. He only averted his eyes for a moment, but it was undeniable.
無論、可能な限り。
Oh, there are feelings within this stone wall.
では、クロウさんの器で抱えきれないほど、私はあなたを満たしてみせましょう。
I mean,
俺では
kinda.
分不相応にしてみせると？
まさかそんなことはありません。もしクロウさんの器が割れても全部私で埋めますから。ですから大丈夫ですよ。安心して好きなように受け取ってください。
そうか。頼もしいな。
Shiki Kyoko's eyes glinted with determination and a hint of madness. Yeah, yeah. Kyoko showed Kuro into the main entrance hall, the same one Dogen and Yorimichi had disappeared into. Ah! Oh my god. There, she stopped and turned to look at him. What are you doing? Why are you fidgeting? It looked like something was troubling her. When Kuro spoke, the fidgeting of her hands grew even more restless. Then, as though as to calm herself, she took several deep breaths.
先ほど屋敷を案内すると申し上げました。
Saya, is this just your self-insert now? I'm just gonna replace Kuro with Saya.
うん。
私、クロウさんと挨拶をして、こうして案内することを想定して何度も練習してきたんです。
Nothing ever goes as planned. It's fine. Kyoko was blushing slightly. Kuro wasn't sure if it was from shame or giddiness. Either way, he nodded. Oh god, hold on. Alright. She seems very uncertain about what she's doing for someone who's rehearsed. She was starting to make more sense to him.
練習通りにいかなかったと。
Right.
お恥ずかしい話ですが、その通りです。何分、こういうことは
If you really did, you're missing out on some money.
まあ、四季家のお嬢さんなら仕方ないか。
House Shiki was the most powerful of the 7 noble houses that ruled Nanawara village. I almost didn't say village. They were the island's ultimate authority. As the only daughter of such a powerful family, Kyoko wouldn't have had many opportunities to play hostess.
はい。この後も目に余る部分があると思いますが、どうか 見捨てずにいてくださいますよ。お願い。
ちょっと待ってくれ。
はい。
Kyoko fell silent the moment Kuro interjected.
俺もさっき、君、京子にいろいろ教えてもらいたいとお願いしたばかりだ。だから、失礼とか目に余るとか、気にしないでくれないか。
Wow, she was so nervous that she forgot already?
申し訳ありません。そうです。そうですよね。嬉しくて頭から飛んでしまっていました。
Oh, I guess not.
気にせず、クロウさんに教えられる。私から学んでいただける。
There was passion in the way Kyoko spoke. She faced Kuro with a fierce look in her eyes.
もちろんクロウさんのことも教えてくださいね。
はい。
私ばかりでは不公平です。
So I assume we're just gonna stay in this guy's perspective for a while.
わかった。だが、少し落ち着こ
う。失礼しました。もう、私ったら恥ずかしい。
Kyoko clapped her hands to her cheeks as though to hide how she was blushing. Kuro realized something when he saw her do that.
やっぱり、落ち着きすぎなくていい。ほどほどでいこ
う。You don't have to be like, you know, a doll. You could just be like normal or whatever. Whatever you want to call it. Oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. Oh. How are we doing? An Arbok? You actually want that thing? I think I need a BRB, actually, so I will do that real quick. Oh, what the hell? I'm wasting Ultra Balls on fucking basic bitch Pokemon. Terrible. Alright.
ですが、それでは失礼ばかりしてしまいます。
肩や口調に力が入りすぎだ。多少砕けていた方が、俺も話しやすい。
Oh.
すまない。
This stunned look on Kyoko's face made Kuro a little nervous, if only for a moment. Back at House Yasaka, Io had to be very casual with him as long as... had been very casual with him as long as he practiced basic etiquette, even though she was the head mistress. Perhaps it was to make up for how harsh she had been about his training, but whatever the reason, it made her easy to talk to. There was no guarantee that things would work the same here at House Shiki.
さっきまでの京子のような態度がいいなら、俺もそうするよう努める。
いいえ、とんでもありません。
A smile spread across Kyoko's face. Kuro could breathe a little easier when he saw that.
つまり、私があなたをお慕いしていると常に表に出していても構わないのですね。
出してなかった。あれで。
No, she definitely was.
出てしまっていたので自重しました。ですが、そちらの方が良いとおっしゃるのなら、私は、はい。
She stopped for a moment, then gulped. Oh.
とても嬉しいです。
Huh, did I say something she liked? I get the feeling there's been a miscommunication. Probably.
そう。京子が嬉しいならよかった。
Okay.
はい。
とにかく、その調子で行こう。変に気を回しすぎないで、不安ならちゃんと言ってくれ。俺もそうするし、要求にも応えるよ。
Damn. Kyoko nodded several times, looking like she was carefully considering the meaning of his words. Then she spoke up again with a reverent look on her face.
では、案内をするにしても、クロウさんの好みに合わせたいと思います。
I just heard a fucking sound. I might need to go check something. Maybe. Am I crazy? Maybe I didn't.
私に全て任せるのではなく、詳細を指定するか、要望を出してください。あ、念のために言っておきますが、これは見返りの要求ではありません。
Yeah.
これは私があなたに好いてもらうための努力、その一環です。私は確かにクロウさんを誰よりもお慕いしていますが。
They just met. Did she know him already somehow? What's going on with this?
私がこれだけ思っているのだから、あなたにも何かしてもらい
たい。
なんて思っていませんから、純然に自分のためだけの行動ですので、そこは勘違いしないでくださいね。
Okay, shit.
重たかったら言ってくださいね。
わかった。
クロウさん、適当に返事していませんか？
そう感じたならすまない。
Kuro bowed his head apologetically and updated his mental evaluation of Kyoko. He had taken her to be a refined noble lady, but that didn't appear to be the case anymore.
いえ、頭を下げるほどでは。
I mean, she's still a girl. Like, don't have to be refined at all times, do you? Do you? Especially with your husband?
私、クロウさんになんて口の利き方を。って硬すぎるのもダメなんですよね。
できたら自然体で頼む。
自然。
Kyoko took several deep breaths to calm herself down. As he watched, Kuro remembered something Io once taught him. Her words rang out in his memory.
女心は変わりやすく不可解だからね。 男にできるのはその手に負えなさを愛嬌と捉えようと努力することくらいじゃない？
I mean, yeah, probably. It's safer that way usually. Okay. Love, affection, right.
京子。はい。君の気持ちの重い軽いは俺にはわからない。
伝わるよう努力します。
それだ。
You pointed out Kyoko's enthusiasm and continued.
わからないが、京子が伝えようとしてくれていて、それは好意だということはわかる。そういう京子の行動や表情は、俺もいいと思う。京子。
She froze up for several seconds, and when she came back to her senses, she seemed sulky.
クロウさん、ずるいです。
Are we?
そうか。
そんなこと言われたら、
Oh, okay.
思いが募って止まらなくなってしまうじゃないですか。それに、クロウさんの自然体ですか？何も感じていないような態度で、内心はそんな風に受け止めてくれているなんて。ごめんなさい。
What is happening here? I hope that means everything is okay. At least Kyoko was in a good mood. Judging by the way she was laughing, she was perhaps becoming a bit too relaxed. But it was better than when she was too excited.
さて、俺からの要求だったか。この屋敷のすべての部屋を見せてくれ。あれば間取り図もだが、これは後でもいい。水の確保先と食事材料の取引先、避難用の細工があったら教えてくれ。
As the most powerful noble family on the island, House Shiki had many enemies. As a Yasaka, Kuro's duty was to do everything he could to ensure his owner's well-being, not to mention his own.
それでは、各部屋をさらっと流して回りますね。気になった場所があれば、その都度お尋ねください。
Indeed.
わかった。では、
Kuro waited for Kyoko to take the lead, but she didn't move.
京子。
この距離では遠すぎます。
After taking a moment to glance around, Kuro stepped forward, toward her tentatively from behind. Goddamn. The space he left between them was only as big as his fist. Of course, Kuro's hands were bigger than most men's.
これくらいでいいでしょう。
They keep mentioning the size of his hands for some reason. Kuro heard her sigh, seemingly relieved. At this distance, he was close enough to smell a hint of her body odor. It was sweet and feminine. Apparently, she was a little sweaty. He took it as a sign she was nervous.
それでは、行きましょう。
Kyoko set off and Kuro followed close behind, keeping her within a constant range. Alright.
まずは、見ての通り、廊下です。この屋敷は大きいですが、特別な設備などはありませんので、見たままに受け取っていただいて結構です。
There are no hidden passages? The hell? Kyoko said that, but Kuro couldn't help take note of the sheer length of the hallway, and peering through the spaces between the shoji screens that formed the walls, he got the impression that each room was quite large.
ここをずっと抜けていくと、中庭に面した縁側です。
We're gonna get there, I'm sure. Kuro sensed that Kyoko's pace was artificially slow. She seemed nervous. Perhaps there was something she didn't want him to know. Kuro tried to stay alert to his surroundings, but he couldn't detect anyone hiding nearby. So his, training is flaring up, I guess. When the two of them came out to the courtyard, they found themselves on a porch from which they could admire the vast garden lined with vivid red flowers.
四季家は椿か。
Yeah, the Tsubaki. Each of the 7 noble houses had a trademark flower. Besides House Shiki's Camilla, the only ones Kuro knew were the plum blossom of House Ichizo and bellflower of House Futara.
はい、 綺麗でしょ？
Well, you know what? Actually, hold on. Now I have to check something. So, at this point, they're probably not smoking like cigarettes like we think. They're probably smoking the kisaru, which is like the long pipe you see in anime. Considering the time period, commercial cigarettes didn't exist until after the Meiji Restoration ended. So, they could still smoke tobacco though. So, just a bowl of tobacco. That's all you're getting, Saya. A bowl of tobacco and a long-stemmed pipe.
確かに。
クロウさん、緊張しないでください。近くにいてもらっているのは、私がくっつきたいだけですから。
Oh. Does she mean literally or like?
ああ。
落ち着いたら、ここでゆっくりしたいですね。
Shut the fuck up. Pixar didn't happen, but I don't actually want that, so please don't. It's been so long since I read just a normal ass visual novel where there's not like really any gameplay. It's just reading. Because obviously I read Saya a long time ago. I know Danganronpa had a lot of reading, but it was mixed in with like actually doing shit. I feel I feel needlessly nervous to be reading a visual novel out loud for some reason. I don't know why that is. Anyway, I have a beer. Well, it's not beer. It's a grog, so it's technically shoju. Shochu?
そうだな。
Figured it would help take the edge off. It might. Kyoko's ears returning as red as the flowers.
それでは次、
行
きましょう。
Crow noticed the hesitation in the way Kyoko was walking and reflected on their conversation earlier. She said I was acting emotionless.
Kyoko.
Yay, I caught the Absol. Let's go.
なんでしょう。
くっつきたいのはちゃんと聞いたし、わかった。君のいろんなところも感じ取れてるから、落ち込まないでくれ。
はい、わかっています。でも、嬉しいです。さあ、次に行きましょうね。
Kyoko started walking. Damn it. Kyoko started walking with somewhat more confidence, and although he didn't entirely get it, Kuro felt a little more at ease too.
いろんなところって、どこですか？
So you don't want to hold hands?
匂いや呼吸かな。
Apparently those things really get her fired up, goddamn. I should really take that Master Volley mode out. It's for the event stuff, but it's fine. I have a whole pack of emotes for that I'm gonna have to add at some point. After that remark, Kuro had to pick up his pace to keep up with Kyoko as she led him back into the manor. Hey, like a room.
ここは座敷ですね。
A tatami room.
調度品や家具は異なりますが、同じ作りの部屋がいくつかあります。
なるほど。
Kuro placed one of his sizable palms flat against the grass mat flooring. Then he lifted it up and slapped it down firmly. There was a dull thud, and the vibrations he felt told him a few things about what was below. No secret compartments, nobody hiding either.
クロさん、何か？
床下を確認したけど異常はなし。あとは見ていけば十分だ。
Dude's been trained to be like a soldier, so... His tone was businesslike. Kyoko just nodded. Yeah, that's fair. Then she continued showing him the other tatami rooms. They passed Dogen, Yorimichi, and Yukiko a few times along their way, but they never seemed to pay the two of them any mind. They had said their introductions and didn't have anything more to talk about. That seemed to be the unspoken sentiment. They weren't unnecessarily avoiding Kuro. Whoa. They weren't over the top about welcoming him, but they seemed to accept him for who he was. He could feel it. They were very understanding. I wouldn't want them to be more attentive. Then I'd have to figure out the right way to respond to their courtesy. And I don't dislike Kyoko either. I could get used to it here. Kuro continued piecing his logic together in his head as he and Kyoko wandered the manor. Goddamn. Eventually, she led him to a room that seemed different from the others.
こちらは来客の際に使われる客間ですね。後で案内する離れと同じ作りです。
We made it to the guest room.
座敷を2つに分けてあるのか。
The guest room was furnished differently than the tatami rooms. The windows let in more light, but there were fewer places to put things. Nothing else about the room caught Kuro's eye. Once he'd make a quick check of the floor, he saw no reason for them to linger. I assume I'll be living in the annex. After all, nothing in any of the rooms he'd been shown up to this point suggested that they had been prepared for a new resident. That seemed to imply that the Shiki felt he didn't need anything more than the clothes on his back. Judging by the way he had been treated up to that point, he felt fairly certain that they wouldn't ask him to sleep in the shed or on the bare dirt, but the thought crossed his mind all the same. On the bright side, such quarters should make it easy to avoid prying eyes. That kind of thing was more important to Kuro than being respected as a son-in-law. He couldn't help but think like a Yasaka. Kitchen. Next, Kyoko showed him a large kitchen area. It had a comfortable-looking raised section where there was a hearth for sitting and eating around, and below there was a dirt-floored part of the room with facilities for cooking.
簡素な作りだな。
はい。二らあたりは下人の働く炊事場と分けているようですが、式家は私やおばあ様が作りますし、遠慮も何もないですから。飯時はそちらの土間から持ってきてそのまま食べますし、ゆっくり話し込む時もだいたいここで行われます。客人をもてなすのは準備された座敷ですね。
なるほど。
As one might expect by looking at the head of their household, Dogen, it sounded like the Shiki preferred a simple lifestyle rooted in work and family.
何か粗相をしましたでしょうか？
Kyoko didn't seem to think anything was unusual. Kuro realized the room must seem normal to her.
クロウさんのご期待に添えなかったのなら申し訳ありません。ですが、式家も元は百姓ので、たまたま巡り合わせがよく今のようになっただけです。贅沢は身につかず、少年に合わず、人を腐らせるだけというのが代々の習わしです。
Yes, thank you. This is good.
私にできることはすべてぜひ叶えさせていただきたく思いますが、そこだけはご了承ください。
Suddenly she was acting very mature. Apparently she wasn't entirely at the mercy of her emotions. Perhaps it's unusual for other people to see her more passionate side. Kyoko was bowing her head apologetically, but Kuro leaned down to look at her straight in the eyes.
京子も飯を。
はい。
うん。楽しみだ。
Kyoko's eyes lit up in an instant.
クロウさん、クロウさん。お好きな食べ物は何ですか？
好き嫌いはないよ。
Aww.
それでは私が困ります。あなたに喜んでいただくのが何よりの贅沢なのですから、私を助けると思って、さあ、どうぞ。
そう言われても、ないんだ。うん。美味しいまずいはわかるけど、好き嫌いは。うん。土でも木でも必要なら食べられるから。やっぱりないな。
I understand what your personality is supposed to be, but good lord. House Yakuza considered it a great virtue to be able to make do with whatever food was available, even in the most extreme circumstances. And Kuro was unusual even among them. He would be satisfied eating rocks if he had to. He recognized that it wasn't normal to feel that way, but he didn't see what good it would do to lie about it. Yikes. But yeah, it should have been like it should have been a real answer, not you, because you would have been a bad answer, I think. Still, he had enough sense to leave out the part about the rocks. Kyoko raised her eyebrows and shuddered with disgust.
もちろん、まずいけどね。
当たり前です。しかし、なるほど。わかりましたよ、クロウさん。
何が？
これから毎日毎朝毎晩、私がちゃんとしたご飯を用意します。それを続ければ、他の誰かのご飯を食べたときに
starving or something, I don't know.
ああ、京子のご飯が食べたいな。
と思い出してくれるようになるはずです。いえ、なっていただけるよう努力します。
I prefer that voice she just used to mock him. Where is it? I bring it back.
それは楽しみだ。
Indeed.
でしょ？
でしょうか。
私を好きになるのが楽しみと、そうおっしゃっていただけただけで。
This girl's got something going on with her. That isn't quite what I said, but oh well. Kyoko wasn't wrong to see a connection, however. Just as he didn't favor certain foods over others, Kuro had no inclination to like or dislike individuals. Pleasant or unpleasant, necessary or unnecessary, those metrics made sense to him. Anything beyond that, however, had never seemed worth considering. Perhaps marrying into how Shiki was going to force him to consider what was frivolous and what was necessary.
京子、ほうけてないで次に行こう。
失礼しました。
Kyoko still continued smiling, even as she was leading Kuro out to the next room.
クロウさん、ちゃんと後ろにくっついていてくださいね。あなたがいてくれるのが好きなんですから。
うん。わかったから落ち着いて。
はい。これも聞こえているんですよね。
Oh my god, man. It's fucking murdering me.
もちろん。
Kyoko's ears turned red and her lips trembled. After that, she walked as though unsteady on her feet.
母屋はこちらで最後です。
Okay. Her facial expression seemed somehow nervous. Kuro nodded and then began to scan the room carefully. It was a changing room separated from the bathing area. Bathing area? Bathing area. You think this was written by a man? I don't actually know. So, I think this is actually written by a woman. So, this is the first visual novel that Chat Noir did, which is Neko Works' like sister brand. So I don't actually know if let me see who the writer is while I'm scenario writer for the supernatural horror visual novel Nia no Hakoniwa is Shina. Shina is also known for writing the titles such as Yurikago Yori Tenshi, Amade, and Baldur's Sky 0. Don't have a there's no gender, so I don't actually know. Let me see. Writer is Iko Izumi. Director is also Iko Izumi. Is this an anime? Oh no, it says video game. Okay. That doesn't tell me shit either, so I still don't know. Oh no. No, it is a man. Never mind. It's a guy. The name is super androgynous. So it's kind of hard to tell. But no, this was written by a guy. You were correct. Yeah, apparently he's done quite a lot of things, actually. I've got like a whole list on the visual novel database. The shit he's done. Okay. I don't know where the fuck the Google... I really hate the Google overview thing now. It sucks ass. Like, it doesn't actually answer your question. Anyway. This is the bathing area. I mean, sure.
熱心ですね。
Changing clothes, bathing. That was when you were at your most vulnerable. Kuro knew that when you were naked, you could only rely on your own strength. As he surveyed the room, Kuro went over the possibilities systematically in his head. If he were an assailant, where would he hide? How would he strike?
風呂の頻度は
夏場は毎日。他の季節は2日に1度。
Every day, bro. Okay, bathing every day isn't terrible, I guess, if you're not washing your hair. If you're just like chilling in the bath, sure.
湯桶ならいつでも用意できますので、湯を張らない日はそれで体を拭っています。
They're thorough about hygiene as I would expect. It wasn't common to have a bath at home in those days, and most houses had sections with dirt flooring. How Shiki would want to wash enough to present a clean image at all times. Authority commanded more respect when dressed up nicely. Kuro knew appearances were what mattered. A face like Kyoko's could make up for some very dirty business. Kuro hadn't realized he was staring until Kyoko started laughing at him.
おかしなところがあったか。
いえ、クロウさんは私を見てくれている。そう思ったら嬉しくて、つい漏れてしまいました。
そんなに見てたか。
ええ、何度かじっと探るように。
ああ、すまない。
謝らないでください。それに私の方が見ています。クロウさんが思っているよりもっとずーっ と。
He's just staring at each other, fuck.
ああ、その。
She really wasn't being driven by emotions alone. There was a calculating part of her, like a jeweler doing an appraisal. I don't understand this stuff at all. To Kuro, all that mattered about a person was whether he was supposed to kill them or not. Anything beyond that was simply irrelevant. He wasn't lacking in emotion, but he had no experience with relationships. He had never learned to express interest or seek reciprocation. While Kuro considered whether he should tell Kyoko that or not, she suddenly drew very close.
それに口調や態度も大人なのか幼いのか行ったり来たりふわふわしていますね。
I mean, that's probably fair to assume. Kuro thought about how to respond. She clearly didn't mean it as a criticism, so...
気に入ったか。
はい。とっても可愛らしくて、それが私に向けられて、これから変わってゆくと思うと。
Kyoko grunted and threw herself into Kuro's arms. She's so light and tiny and soft.
私の匂い、覚えていただけましたか?
Things are happening in this story already. Jeez.
もちろん。
Uh-huh.
やった恥ずかしいのを我慢した甲斐がありました。
Good lord. Kyoko was nuzzling her head against him like a cat. She was ruining her carefully styled hair, but Kuro got the impression he wouldn't be able to stop her. What am I supposed to do exactly? Kuro was too lost to do anything but look at Kyoko and let her do what she wanted. He could accept her excessive and baseless affection, but he found it difficult to know how to respond to it. It would require a very different approach than murder.
京子、そろそろ。
I would imagine.
はい。お湯を張りますか?
What? Nobody said that.
まだそんな時間じゃないし、案内が先だ。
そうでした。申し訳ありません。
Good God, this woman.
私ったらクロウさんの前で、いえ、クロウさんの前だから。
Is this woman just like horny as fuck or something? What is this?
気にせず行こう。
It doesn't matter. Aw.
気にしてください。
わかった。とにかく、この先は湯船だけだな。
Into the bath.
広いな。
Yeah. Such a bath would certainly make a good impression on guests. Kuro scanned the room briefly, but nothing looked particularly worth investigating. Then, Kyoko came up behind him and pressed her fingers into his back, rubbing up and down.
クロウさんが入るときは、私がお手伝いしますので、ご心配なく。背中。
Oh, yeah, okay.
だって私、クロウさんにあんな情けないところを見られて。
What is going on?
舞い上がっていっぱい誘ってしまって、あのざまでは完全に一人相撲です。
でも、
The voice actress is doing a fucking stellar job. I just find that whiny voice super annoying. God. I really liked the like normal voice she did when she was mocking him. It just sounded like, I don't know how like a normal person speaks. I don't know.
クロウさんがまんざらでもないのは分かっています。だって優しくて可愛くて素敵で、私がこうやって悶々としていても付き合ってくれるでしょ?
Kuro didn't know what to say, so instead he patted Kyoko's back in an attempt to be comforting. Aww.
ありがとう。
いいよ。 こういうことは何度もあるだろうし。
Yeah, it won't, for sure.
あった方がいいですか？
四六時中一緒にいたらどうしてもね。
こんな情けないところをもっと見せた方がいいですか？
I think that's just a be your fucking self moment, bro. Chill out.
クロウさんが望むのであれば。
隠されるよりはいい。
Yeah. Hiding it, repressing shit like that just makes it way worse. It also might make you a murderer or something. Oh my god. Is this crying or laughing?
それじゃ。
Okay, it's both. Kyoko stood up and wiped her tears on the sleeves of her kimono. She then looked back to Kuro and bowed her head.
お会いしてからずっと情けないところばかりお見せしてしまい申し訳ありません。
Kinda, yeah. You can be excited or whatever, but damn.
情緒不安定な女だとお思いでしょうが、普段はこうではないのです。先ほども申し上げたように、クロウさんの前では舞い上がり、自分でも止められなくなってしまいます。
Kuro nodded and gave her an unobjectionable response while he tried to weigh whether he should find it comforting that Kyoko wasn't always so emotionally volatile.
そうなのか。
そうなのです。ですが、クロウさんはこんな私の地帯も構わない。
I don't know if bothering is the right word to use anyway.
天津さえすべて受け入れるとおっしゃってくださいました。
Yeah. I don't think I said that, but denying it seems like a bad idea. Probably. Not a great move. Crow was acting on instinct. He smiled ambiguously.
はい、どんな姿でもあなたにお見せしていきます。それを存分に楽しんでください。
あ
あ。Recognizing her enthusiasm, Kuro nodded vigorously.
楽しませてもらおう。
はい。
Yeah. Clenching her fists with determination, Kyoko started leading Kuro out of the room.
それでは離れに参りましょう。しっかりついてきてくださいね。
Sure. Kuro could tell by the look in her eyes that she expected him to stay close. He obliged wordlessly. Let's see. In the courtyard, a little ways removed from the entrance of the main house, there was a small annex. The architecture was simple but not cheap. In fact, it was luxurious compared to House Yasuka's property where he had lived.
近すぎず、遠すぎず。
Looking back across the estate towards the main house, he could see the entire building at once. Inside the annex, he saw a futon rolled up in the corner with several pairs of men's kimonos and obi folded neatly on top of it.
ここに住むのか。
At this distance, he would be able to tell if someone was coming, and he could fight without dragging the family into
いい
it.
場所だな。ありがとう。
He smiled at Kyoko. Well,
気に入っていただ
she
けま
didn't
し
say
たか？
anything. Okay.
ああ。どうして落ち込んでるんだ？
同じ部屋が良かったのにおじいさまがさすがにダメだと。
婿入りとはいえ正式に婚礼を済ませるまではってところかな。
そうです。私がクロウさん以外と結ばれるなんてありえないのに、離れ離れにされるなんて。
近いんだからいつでも来ればいい。
Why can't I have my boyfriend in my room? I'm not gonna do anything.
そうですね。いつでも、夜でも、朝でも。本当に来るの？よばい。朝がけ。
She's being weird again.
ご期待ください。
Her response and the way she was blushing made Kuro think that he was imposing on her.
だが、そういうのは
Kinda, yeah.
男の方から行くものだろ
Yeah, generally.
してくれるのですね。
I mean, you'll do that for me. Yeah, okay. Just instead. It's fine.
すぐには無理だけど。ああ、いや、どうかな。
わかりました。待っています。
She's not listening, I think.
そうです。クロウさんから夜来て。
Uh-huh. Kuro had figured something out about Kyoko. There was no way to ask her to rein herself in. He needed to be concrete and specific.
その時は、事前に知らせる。
There you go. Aww.
びっくりしたいです。
You ruined the spontaneity of it.
わかった。直前に知らせる。
Kyoko couldn't stop grinning or sighing contentedly. Meanwhile, Kuro couldn't figure out what it was that she thought was good.
よし。それじゃあ、俺は中を整理するから。京子はどうする？
もちろん、ご一緒します。
Kyoko had an enormous smile on her face. Kuro merely nodded. He had expected as much. Okay. Alright. I'll be right back real fast. I got up and immediately broke a fingernail. Jeez. Alright. Oh shit. We're almost at the end anyway. Okay. The next morning when the sun had been up for a little while. Oh, change clothes. Kuro was doing exercises outside the annex. He was barefoot and holding his hands in loose fists. One after the other, he would take a step with his right leg and then his left, walking in the most natural way. But he was moving very slowly. One step took nearly 10 seconds. And his eyes were unfocused, not looking at anything in particular. He went about 20 meters like that. He took a deep breath, lowered his hips ever so slightly, and started backing up in the same manner. His pace was steady and unchanging. When he got back to where he started, he lowered his hips even more and began advancing again. Then he would repeat the whole process. His face betrayed His face betrayed no emotion, and inside he was calm. There was only the flexing of muscles, the awareness of the body, the detached experience of his senses. It was his job to end lives. No emotional investment was necessarily that end, so Kuro did not develop any. He never actually got to go on an assignment. He lowered his hips again and continued his routine as his mind wandered. As far as the residents of Nanawara Island were concerned, House Yasuka's business was unspeakably shameful. They were human traffickers, grooming children to do evil work and exporting them to the mainland. Of course, talents varied from person to person, but Kuro was raised to be good at assassination. Typically, when Yasuka was almost ready for their first real assignment, Io would accompany them to the mainland to test them. There, as headmistress, she would give them a target and observe how they killed. She said it was so she could nip any problems in the bud. God damn. I'm drooling too much. Unfortunately, Kuro had never been granted such an opportunity. Still, he was very much capable of killing. The children of House Yasuka underwent intense training, and accidents were not uncommon. Kuro had been the cause of more than a few such accidents in his time. He tried to hold back, but it took so little to kill them. Given his history, he wasn't sure he was capable of being gentle with a woman. He was a little nervous about it. Kyoko? He was determined not to bring harm to his own fiancée, especially when they had only just gotten engaged. But what was the nature of his feelings about her? He didn't know. He knew she wasn't entirely stable, even if she only showed it when he was around. Would he be able to meet her needs? Standing there racking his brains wouldn't bring him any closer to an answer. He suspected the only way to reach one would be to give it time, but part of him doubted that he would ever figure it out. I can accept that I simply don't know for now, but that doesn't mean I can just forget about it. He didn't want to expose Kyoko to such worries and doubts. Of course she would enjoy it if he did. I don't want to rely on her too much. It wouldn't be right. I don't deserve that. Not so for whatever she does for me, I need to give something in return. Ugh. Kuro had a strong sense of fairness. Unfortunately, he still couldn't think of anything he actually had to offer. He had gone over this line of thought 20 times since the night before. He was counting. I surely thought I would have come up with something by now. I guess not. He had been in contemplation for so long that he had lowered his hips to a mere 30 centimeters above the ground. Slowly, steadily, he continued to move backwards. He wasn't sliding his feet either. He carefully lifted each leg one after the other, while his hips remained firmly in place, and his steps didn't make a sound. He had gone back and forth along the same path countless times, yet he hadn't left so much as a footprint. Eventually, he reached his starting point once again. Oh. There was a sudden rush of air, and he was gone. He was already 20 meters away at the other end of his path. His arms were outstretched and his arms open wide, and with palms forward, his wrists bent at right angles. His pose suggested a judo strike to the neck. Okay. Somewhere in the distance, a flock of birds took flight. Even further away, a cloud stopped in its tracks for a moment as it was cleaved in half before continuing to drift along. Okay. Kuro stood up straight and took a deep breath before looking toward the annex.
Ohayo, Kyoko.
Kyoko stepped out of the shadows she thought she was hiding in and bowed, seemingly filling out Kuro's mood.
Ohayo gozaimasu, Kuro-san.
When she lifted her head, she looked straight at him. She had a moist rag in her hands.
Arigatou.
Kuro took the rag and used it to wipe down his neck and chest. Kyoko's gaze traced his exposed skin and followed his every movement. There was a hungry look in her eyes. Yeah, okay.
Kuro-san, 私が拭きましょうか?
いや、このくらいは。
Uh-huh. Aw, too bad. Too bad.
お願いする。
Kyoko practically tore the rag out of Kuro's hands and began to wipe his body down tenderly. Oh god.
クロさんの体、すごいですね。
Oh my.
そうかな。
What do you mean you didn't know? She reached her long, delicate fingers between the layers of his kimono and caressed his body with the rag, his abs, chest, and around the neck. Her fingers were chilly, as was the wet rag. 手、あげてください。Girl did as she asked, and Kyoko massaged him from his armpit to his bicep. What the fuck? I'm not used to being touched, it feels weird. But despite the thought, Kuro remained completely still. She seemed to be enjoying herself, her cheeks were burning up. Meanwhile, Kuro was taking note of the fine features of her face and the tender-looking nape of her neck peeking out from the parting of her hair. She was very pretty.
Kuro-san.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Kyoko placed her palm on his chest and looked up at him. It seemed as though she was tearing up, her eyes shimmering with a mixture of joy and anxiety.
あまり汗をかいていませんね。
Probably not. Her fingers were on his chest, skin against skin. Kuro nodded as he hadn't shed so much as a single drop.
鍛錬をしているご様子でしたので、もっと汗を流しているかと思いました。
Kyoko whined and stuck out her tongue in an expression of disappointment. Kuro sighed. He knew what she wanted.
そんなに激しく動いてはいない。だいたい汗だくになるほどの運動とは無縁だ。
Are we just patronizing her then?
期待させたならすまない。
そんなことはあります
が。Okay. Kyoko's voice started to crack as she stumbled over her words. She stepped away from Kuro and flailed the rag around in embarrassment. Kuro observed her while he adjusted his kimono.
今度から努力してみる。
Alright. Kyoko clenched the barely used rag in her fists as she tried not to look at him, her eyes darting back and forth.
遠慮しないでいいと言っただろう。
Honestly, I think I missed the good stopping point that I had, but it's already after 4, so we're gonna have to stop here. All right. We're gonna go back to the title screen. All right.
三重の箱庭。
Alright. So, well, the first little bit of this, there's some stuff going on for sure. Definitely don't dislike it. Kinda curious to see what the fuck actually happens, because this is one of those stories that loses its mind at some point, pretty sure, so. Especially after reading the synopsis, so. But we are reading more of this tomorrow, so no big deal there. We'll see what's going on a little more tomorrow. Do I have anything I need to mention before I leave? No, not really. Alright. Nope. I can think about it forever, but I said everything at the top, so I don't really need to say it all again, unless I do. Anyway, if you want to buy this game, there's a link on screen, on the JAST logo, obviously. If you want to buy or check out fucking School Days Remaster, it's on the link down below. I recommend reading it because, you know, hating Makoto is just a rite of passage, so you must. Alright, I will be back tomorrow. Thanks for joining me, guys. JAST.